Well, Axey, welcome to episode 22 of After the Split. And most importantly, and I'm happy about this one, the third episode in a row that's coming out in time. Let's go, season 2. For those of you that, yeah. For those of you that don't already know, this is the deep dive interview show going into the lives of speedrunners. We release episodes every other Saturday. You know, I try to anyway. And you can find this on any place you listen to other podcasts such as YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, etc. Today, I'm honored to have longtime supporter of the show and Simpsons Hit Run extraordinaire, Axington123, aka the lovely Axey. How you doing today?
Yeah, I'm doing good. Just chilling, you know. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing pretty good. A little bit late to start to the day, but I promise I've had my coffee. I'm hoping to be as attentive as possible. But love to hear it, and thank you again for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Timing these is always interesting. We were talking about just a little bit before, but so for people that don't know you, where are you from?
I'm Wales, so UK based.
Oh yeah, I don't know why. My brain, I guess, didn't work. I don't know why. I thought you were Australian. What in the world?
No, my mother's Australian. But I'm UK.
Well, my bad about that then. You know, it is weird because I'm pretty sure you told me, but my memory is just not good.
Yeah, I pretty much get lumped in with Australians sometimes, and I don't know why, but here we are.
I mean, I guess they're just they're the crazy UK folk, right?
Pretty much, yeah.
Now it's got to be a little bit later for you then, so I appreciate you making the time zone work.
Yeah, it's like 11 p.m. I usually, as I said previously, like I'm usually awake at this time because I work night shifts in the job I do. So this time, if I'm not at work, I'm usually awake anyway. So if it works for you, it works for me.
Hey, well, good, because I worked night shift for several years and I kind of liked it, but a lot of people very principally hate it. So I guess, do you like it, or is it just like this is just a job and that's what they want?
I enjoy doing what I do and when I do it. I think I've always enjoyed being able to take control of what I want to do more. And because I work in the care sector, looking after people with autism, learning disabilities, and stuff, at night I'm primarily on my own. So, yes, a lot of the times the people I look after are asleep. And a lot of my job is to make sure that they're okay and I can just get on and do my cleaning and stuff. I don't have to deal with all the hustle and hassle of like having several people around you having to organize situations. Just being able to work on my own is really nice.
Oh yeah, I bet. That's one of the bigger things I liked about nights was it kind of lack of people babysitting you is more just okay, you come to work, you do what you're supposed to do, and that's cool without being just ugh, people riding on you.
You don't deal with like management or anything, and I have no issues with anybody I work with, but I always like to just get on and do what I do because I know how to do my job, kind of thing.
Yeah,
And
for sure.
And nights just give you the autonomy of just controlling your shift, basically.
I don't know if I'm the type of person that would be able to work in care. Like I've talked to fellow After the Split alumni, Joshua Girl. He works at elder care facilities, and it sounds, I mean, just because people ultimately it can be a little needy, and so when people aren't able to take care of themselves fully, it can be a little gross, a little sad, all the above. And I don't know if I'm built for it. So kudos to you for being able to deal with it on the day to day.
Yeah, I will say like elderly care and the care I do are totally different. The care I do is a lot more, I think, physically demanding as well because I deal with like challenging behaviors and that side of things. So it's not too bad. And you also know that like a lot of the times in elderly, it's harder to get them doing things because they have all these health conditions and stuff. Whereas in my side of work, they're still active, they're still able to do things, and you can still get a huge amount of benefits out of it. So I really enjoy what I do.
How long have you been doing it now?
Uh, 5 years coming up.
Oh, dang. All right. So you must at least not hate it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I've pretty much just signed up to 2 more years because I've just started doing a healthcare course alongside work. So that once I do that, it'll allow me to basically progress easier in care if I want to.
Well, I definitely want to dive into this a little bit more because I'm nosy. But for anybody that doesn't know you, I guess so. I'd like to start anyway. How did you come up with the name Axington?
So when I was young, it came from Axey. Axey was the starting point of all of this. When I was young, maybe about 4, 5, whatever, um, my dad, a couple of his friends, and a couple of his kids and their kids and stuff would go to campsites and stuff in the mid to late 90s and everything. And one of those nights, I got hold of a little hatchet and was just attacking this little piece of wood, and I kept and I pushed Choppy and Axe together and just kept saying Axey, 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 and that is how the term Axey came up. And Axington didn't come up until later. I think that came out around in 2005 because I was gonna start playing World of Warcraft, and Axie was taken, so I had to think of something else. And I thought, what would be a good version of Axie to play as this dwarf hunter? Axington just seemed to fit because
Yes, Sir Axington.
yeah, it it was like okay. And since then, that became more of my Twitch name, my speedrun name, whereas I've always used Axie for more of my like social kind of
Mm-hmm.
things. So basically the same thing, but I've always liked having like Axie as my Discord name, my social talk name kind of thing, and then Axington is my almost like business name.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. Now, I'll be honest, if I saw a young kid with a hatchet, I might be a little concerned he's off to be a serial killer or something, but I'm glad you turned out okay.
Yeah, I think the whole like look on things back in the 90s compared to now has totally changed. Am I still with you? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Sorry, I knocked a cable, my screen went
Oh,
off, and I wasn't sure if I was still here. But we're back. Yeah, the whole look and feel of things in the 90s compared to now is totally different. Like, because I was sat next to them, and because like I couldn't really go anywhere,
mm-hmm.
and I was just having fun on the side, just attacking this piece of wood, I don't think it was an issue. Whereas obviously nowadays, I think you see a kid with anything and you'd instantly like almost scream.
Yeah, right.
But then my dad also grew up in Swansea, a place in Wales, and back then, this in the like 70s where he grew up, they didn't have like health and safety things, you know.
Yeah.
So he always wanted his kids to be able to be a bit more free to nature and like not always be scared about things, if that makes sense.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Probably a healthier way to go too. I mean, nowadays especially, it's a little scary out there. So to be extra paranoid is just like, that can't be good for the mind.
Exactly. My dad always let me just be who I wanted to be, as long as I wasn't doing anything dangerous, you know.
Mm-hmm. Pretty much just don't be stupid. Yeah, that I think it's a
Yeah,
good way to grow up. You over shelter somebody, and you're just gonna push them to do quite the opposite of intention.
exactly. Yeah.
But so, what games have you run for the people that may not be aware who you are?
So primarily, I'm a Simpsons Hit and Run speedrunner, board mod community representative. Let's go.
Hey,
But I've also, and that was my very first speed game. That's how I actually got into speedrunning.
Which, how long ago was
Uh,
that?
it was 2 years ago. It was at the very start of a pandemic.
Me too. I'm a COVID baby runner,
Yeah.
which I think is
But
really good for the scene for sure.
oh yeah, for sure. It definitely helped just because of the fact that it let a lot of people had spare time. Like I was still
Mm-hmm.
working at the time, but a lot of stuff I did outside of work was I just couldn't do it. I wasn't like, especially working in care at the time, I wasn't allowed to like really go out and
Oh
the
yeah, true. Because you got a lot of other people's lives kind of at
yeah.
risk.
So it wasn't like I wasn't allowed to go and exercise outside, but the recommendation was like if you could stay indoors, even if you other people could go out and do that, um, they then we should get all of our shopping delivered, blah blah blah. And it was tough, but it was to try and keep everybody else safe. So I had a lot of spare time, just being able to speed run. It started off with just Simpsons Hit and Run, and then I started speedrunning World of Warcraft as well, which was a lot of
Yeah, which
fun.
I've seen, which seems like quite a, I guess, polar opposite of Simpsons Hit Run, more like a going from that. I don't even know what to call Char. It's such a weird game. Like it's a not a driving game entirely, but it's also heavily focused on it.
It's like a GTA-esque game, really.
Yeah.
To World of Warcraft, which I guess I chose WoW just because of the fact that it had so many childhood memories for me. So
Yeah.
I've been playing it on and off for years. So,
Are you still
oh,
playing?
from time to time, yeah. I actually played it yesterday.
In general, I've heard from a lot of people that were longtime fans that it's sort of losing some of its appeal and catering to a more casual audience. But I never got into WoW personally, so my experience is very limited.
My view on it is like they've got to do what makes money for them, you know?
Mm-hmm.
If the hardcore base isn't bringing enough money to them, then why not cater to casual fans? Like as bad as it sounds, like sometimes catering to hardcore fans is the death of a company. You look at things like Blockbusters, who just never adapted in their,
Yeah.
and so many other companies over the years just haven't adapted. Whereas I think gaming is probably the easiest way to adapt because you can literally change your game in a patch.
Mm-hmm.
You can you can do whatever you want to your game in a patch. And if you want to change, and you can like mini patch it as well, um, by just changing a few values and making things either easier or harder depending on how they want. And you can do that in a matter of like days. If something doesn't feel right with your game, you can be on top of it. And WoW always did. So in a way, they've got the right idea to keep them like going on for years
Yeah.
longer, but it does damage some people's experience for sure. But unfortunately, that's just the way the cookie crumbles sometimes.
I've got some mixed views on like patch culture as a whole, because at least my main thought as far as something like this is games like Smash Brothers, Valorant, stuff like that, where
Yep.
games that physically couldn't be patched because of hardware limitations back in the early 2000s and stuff like that. Melee, for example, has just kind of evolved into this beautiful game, but it had such a large ceiling that it allowed things to kind of develop on its own. Whereas this, Ultimate came out, and everybody every single month is like, I want this nerfed, I want this buffed, I want this, I want that. And it's like, eh. eh. I kind of like the idea of just play with what you have. And like Valorant, for example, is like it can make a character from, oh, this is, they're super good to they're completely unplayable. But, balance is a weird thing to try and find. So you never know.
It is. I think it's like the whole patch culture is slightly different for like an MMO to a fighting game or something.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
obviously the MMO experience, like if it was the same for years, you'd instantly just die off the MMO as soon as you like finished the game. Basically, like if MMOs didn't patch and bring expansions and stuff, they just wouldn't develop as games. And so, especially the pay monthly kind of experience that World of Warcraft is, they would have so much drop off that it just wouldn't be profitable. And
Mm-hmm.
I think for certain games, patches work, but for others, it's way too patch heavy.
It's I mean, hey, ultimately, I guess like you were saying, it's for the company to make money too, so they want to make everybody the most happy, and sometimes the people
Yeah.
that care the most are going to get hurt by that.
Yeah. And unfortunately, that's just part of business. I
True.
went to, so it's funny because before I did care, I did business and I got a master's in human resource
A
management. So a
master's?
lot, yeah, I have a master's degree.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah, a lot of like the whole way a business like works is quite fascinating to me, especially in the gaming world, because most people are like, ah, they're doing this, it's gonna, and that makes me sad, and I'm just sat there like, yes, it makes individuals sad, but companies look at groups of people rather than
Mm-hmm.
individuals.
Now, if you
Wh-
don't mind me asking, how old are you?
I am going to be 32 in like a month or two.
Ooh.
Yeah.
If it means anything, I wouldn't have guessed it. I would have thought, 24 or something like that.
Yeah, no, I'm by the time I was 24, yeah. God, that's a long time ago now.
I
Yeah,
often,
I
even at
just
my like, I'm 27, and I feel
yeah.
almost sometimes older in the scene. Do you ever feel like that, or are you like, nah, it's
I'm
whatever?
well, I'm the oldest active showrunner at the
That's hype,
moment.
actually.
And I think the next oldest is like 28. So yeah, it's kind of like it's nice to be because a lot of people also come to me uh with like issues and stuff and they're like 18, 19,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes like 20
They call you
because they
dad.
know uh not to my face.
Can I call you dad?
You can call me whatever you want, Gaffy.
Yes. All right.
But like when it comes to things, this like whole culture, I've built my whole like brand almost around just being open to people coming to me. And especially because I deal with people with autism and stuff in my job and I have to learn a lot about it. It also helps because I've noticed a lot of speedrunners are like on the autistic spectrum as well. So being able to be someone that they can come and bounce things off and being like, ah, I feel like this is this normal, blah blah blah, and I can just be like, yes, it just feel like this, or they try and ask me ways in which they can get over frustrations in like games and stuff, and how to like stop fixating over certain things, and then I can use some like techniques that I would in my workplace to help people in like speedrunning communities and stuff, which is really cool.
That is really nice of you for one. I don't think I see it too often anymore where everybody's just overly empathetic, and especially, I mean, in your hobbies and your day to day. I mean, I'll be honest, I feel a little selfish a lot of days.
Yeah, I think for me, I definitely I've got better with like knowing when I need a me day as well.
Yeah.
I just won't respond to anything. If I don't want to that day, I'll just not respond to anything, you know. I'll just go and do anything else. And as harsh as that sounds, I feel like I need that sometimes
Oh
because
yeah, I'm the same. I'm a total I actually think, I don't know, having a disconnect from just everything is super beneficial, because a lot of people, especially, and I'm not a big social media person, which makes, doing Twitch and anything like that kind of, well, weird, juxtaposition because like I just completely dropped off of the Instagram, Facebook, all that. I don't post anything, but it just I don't know. It all just seemed artificial and overwhelming to me. But yeah,
Yeah,
to not need to message anybody back, just focus on, hey, I'm in the moment right now with myself and I need this, and that's fine to me. I think it's natural even.
yeah. I think for a short while I was getting too much like at work I was helping people. When I was trying to do things I was helping people, and it was just it gets too much sometimes, but I don't ever regret helping people, but I do nowadays put time for myself more than I used to.
So I'm
Which
very curious. Oh, go ahead.
which weirdly coincided with me stopping streaming as much. I just decided that like I do things when I wanted to do things rather
Mm-hmm.
than when I felt like other people wanted me to do things. So
I will say I think I've kind of run into that too, and we've been streaming. I mean, the same amount of time now, just about. And I feel like it's only natural, right? Like the first year, it's fun, exciting, especially you start to actually talk to people, meet people. But then after a while, it's like, all right, so what am I doing this for?
yeah,
And so now, because I mean, especially when I was not going to school, unemployed, living by myself for a little bit, I was like, I'm going live every day. I want to try and do something with this, see if that I do get that growth and to some extent, but unless you really do something remarkable, I don't think most people are going to have, that big growth. Plus a little bit of luck, know people, stuff like that, whatever. But I've also cut back to I'm just going to go live when I feel like it. And I think that's okay too.
sure, yeah.
But I am very curious, especially since I mean you've clearly established, how you want to move forward with your future. It seems like. Do you live by yourself?
Yeah, at the moment I do, yeah. Probably for the next year or so I probably will still.
Oh, I couldn't imagine not living by myself anymore.
Yeah. I mean, me and my partner have been together about 10 months now, but
Oh,
we've known each other for like over 10 years at this point.
really?
Yeah,
Met
we've known
back
each
in
other
uni or something?
yeah, like a long, long time ago we met, and we've been friends for so many like years and always had each other's back. And now, even before me and her got together, she was looking at a house and trying to move, but the market is just so bad at the
Oh, it's
moment.
the worst. Yeah.
So it's quite nice because we know each other, like trust each other and everything.
Mm-hmm.
We've we talked about like where we will go with things in like a year or two's time in case she hasn't got a house yet. Maybe then we'll start looking as a couple rather than just her alone. Because at the moment we've only been together like a year. It's
Yeah.
way too soon to be like fully discussing things. But it's like okay, if nothing's been found in like a year or two, then we'll start thinking about things.
So, do you care if I'm nosy?
Go ahead.
I obviously 10 years is a long time to know somebody. Who made the first move into, oh hey, this could be something more serious.
Um, I think it just gradually, like, especially when we couldn't see each other over lockdown and everything,
Mm-hmm.
it got to a point where like we because I was with someone before and everything, and I don't think either of us really realized that we were each other's calming point when we met. It was like
Yeah.
it was okay to be stressed and everything because as soon as we'd meet up, suddenly, when you meet someone and like your energy is just calm whenever you're around them, and then when you're apart from them, it's fine because
You can
it's
go
still
on as
got that.
independent beings. Yeah.
Yeah, but like, so we were doing that for years, and then over lockdown and everything, obviously we couldn't meet up because all the rules and everything, and then for the UK we had like second and third lockdowns and everything, and then after that I think it just became obvious how important we were and how we wanted to like go forward in things. And I feel like that was probably the most important factor in us getting together properly.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean that's very sweet, especially I don't know. There's a lot of pressure with that too, because if you mess something up and it doesn't end amicably, then you lose someone that you've had for a long time. And I've found anyway, getting older, it's a little bit harder to make adult friends, like outside of work and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think for me this was a gamble in a way, and I don't usually take like big gambles,
Mm-hmm.
but it was a gamble that we both thought about really hard, and we both agreed that it was like going to be harder to keep pushing it off.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
if we didn't at least try, I think at some point it just gets to a point where there's too much almost tension there. And if things aren't addressing everything and you just try and ignore things, it can get to a point where things just build up and then kind of just die.
Yeah.
And neither of us wanted it, so we both just, yeah.
I'm glad to hear it's going well then so far, no doubt.
Yeah. And my mother totally adores her, so,
Always a plus. I think
Yeah.
that's always been a thing for me is like, oh, if my family doesn't like someone, then I like my family. I don't know. It'd be weird if they ever didn't though.
Well, the good thing is my family and her knew each other from like probably 2016.
Oh
They've
dang.
known each
Yeah.
other like because she was my best friend before. She's obviously been around and met my family before, and like now it's just like yeah. So I remember when we did finally get together, my mother was just like, "Oh, thank God! You don't know how many times I've prayed for you two to get together," and I'm just like, "Mother."
It's almost embarrassing in a way, but it's also sweet.
It's super sweet because,
Mm-hmm.
my mother always has my interests at heart, and although she'll never say that she wants something to happen, if that thing does happen, she will always make it known that, that's what she was hoping for all
Yeah,
along.
yeah. Now, does your family and I mean, yeah, your significant other, do they know that you picked up streaming and speedrunning and stuff?
Yes, to a certain degree. My family know that I did a 24-hour live stream
Ooh,
for charity last year, and they donated to that, which was nice of them. My partner watches my streams semi regularly. Well,
let's go.
when I stream,
Right.
and my partner's always is on the fence of for whether or not she likes speedrunning or not, because she's very big into like JRPG games,
Mm-hmm.
and she likes all the lore behind games and watching all the cutscenes
Oh,
and
so to bypass it
getting
all.
yeah, me and her played It Takes Two together, and I was there trying to skip every cutscene, and she's there like
Even on
exploring
your
every.
casual playthrough?
So I mean, but I'd watched so many runs of It Takes Two from
Oh, okay.
somebody in the Shard community called Bamford. He would run like It Takes Two, I think for about a good part of a year. So I'd seen it a lot of times. I hadn't really seen the cutscenes, but I knew they were skippable. And if I know something's skippable, my brain will just try and skip it. Like, not even on purpose, but my brain will just go to a skip cutscene button.
Man, I've definitely found myself not necessarily in a casual playthrough skipping cutscenes, but I do try and break the things that I play casually even. Like I think speedrunner brain is almost infectious where it's like, okay, oh, look, I could potentially skip this here and you start looking like, oh, I wonder how long the run would be for this and it's like just enjoy the game, but it's hard because your brain just wants to do these things.
It really is. You just want to get through it fast, and then you know it's a 50-50 as to whether or not you can do it fast. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Now I was trying to remember before this because we definitely go quite a bit back. Do you remember how we sort of came into contact?
I think it might have been because of Team Voyage.
Oh, okay. You know what? That would make
'Cause-
sense. Yeah.
Because I think it was through Gage, potentially.
You know him back in the SSH days.
Yeah, I knew
Okay, so
him.
yeah, then
I started
probably.
following him, I think, July 2020.
Hey, shout out to Lovable Gudge.
Yeah, Gage actually did like I think two of my Twitch emotes and stuff.
He's done several of mine. I definitely liked Gage's art style for sure.
Oh, yeah, for sure. He's a great guy. So I found him through there, and then when he became partner and he was Team Voyage, I then found a few runners from there that I started watching,
Mm-hmm.
and I noticed a couple of people like you and Casual Speedrunner started popping up in my stream randomly. I think the first time I remember you being properly in my stream was when I got sub 1 any percent for Shah,
Let's go.
and that was really hype. And then I think I started watching you not long after that. I think you were doing a lot with Crash 4, maybe?
Who knows? I spent a little bit of time on C4. A lot. Like my whole first year was all just Crash 2 of Insane Trilogy.
Yeah.
So
I
maybe
think
one of
you
those.
Yeah, it was definitely Crash when I first started speaking to you, and then you said you were gonna start doing Sharp, but you never did.
Hey, I've done a couple runs. Okay, one run. It's kind of crazy. I have a lot of like childhood nostalgia for Simpsons Hit Run. I played the hell out of it on the GameCube like growing up. And so I still have that desire to. And when I played the run for it, I'm like, man, this is hard. Plus it's a little bit longer and I'm like I like shorter categories typically.
Oh yeah,
But I
for
still have
sure. I
ambition
think
too.
Char is like the longest run I do, like consistently.
Mm-hmm.
I've done like a lot of 2D platformers. Like there's a couple of games like Sick and Eddie Hill and Recursive Skull Medallion, which me and another showrunner, we literally just go into Steam sometimes and
Yeah.
see a game which is like newly released, got like no players, is a bad 2D platformer, is is like free to play, and then we just run it, we glitch hunt, and then we make a board and then just we play it for like a couple of weeks, and it's a hell of a lot of fun, and then we just move on to the next one.
Actually, funny enough, me and the Spyro Reignited lads, we've done this a couple times now, and there was like this whole class group project thing where like 6 different teams all developed their own games, and so
Nice.
we infiltrated all of them. Like Peblito Rock and Roll, some game you'd never hear of. We made a board for it. There's like 3 different categories. And it's just so fun. And then there was Zenko the Fox, and they're all made with like Unreal Engine 4, which is a piece of garbage. I mean, the games are good, don't get me wrong, but they're very exploitable, very broken, always. So,
See, I think
yeah.
Sick was made from Unreal Engine 2.
Oh, wow. Really throwback.
Yeah, it's a really good game, but it's like so broken at times.
Mm-hmm. It's fun, though. It's just so fun. To me, anyway.
Oh, it is. It's really fun to find these random games and just play them for a little bit. And of course, my favorite game of all time, Wild Animal Racing. Like, who doesn't
Of
love Wild
course,
Animal
yeah.
Racing?
One of the goats, right up there with Elden Ring. You do have
But
quite a few obscure games like on your SRC profile that I'm like, huh? What is this?
yeah, yeah, I have the Slater, which is actually a really, really cool game. It's almost Hitman-esque.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. There's a few games there. So there's this Discord group called the Blind Runners, where each week they pick up a game. There's like a random poll of 4 games, and then all the members who are in there like vote on a game, and it could be literally anything because all the games that are in the polls have been like submitted by someone in the Discord. So you can have like Crash 2 one week going up against a game like Sick and stuff like that. These
Mm-hmm.
random, like a game called White Van Racer. It could be
My
literally.
favorite.
You can literally like find anything, and then we do a run, and some people submit them into a board, some people don't. Sometimes we have to make a board, and it's a whole lot of fun just randomly playing through a game for a first time. And Wild Animal Racing was one of them. The Slater was one of them, and it's just really fun to do.
Now, if you had to pick one of these obscure games, you're like, everybody should check this one out. Which one do you think it would be?
Probably the Slater. I think it is
Hmm.
it wasn't my personal favorite, but I think it is a game which has a lot of potential to it and a lot of fun to it. Though my favorite one has been VVVVVV,
Ah,
which
yes. VVVVVVV.
which isn't quite as obscure, but it's a lot of fun.
I might have to check these out. Steal a World Recce, maybe?
That would be pretty hype, yeah.
Oh. So just because I was like, I'm kind of nosy, let me see. Mifa is the record holder for Slater Normal. And
Yeah,
Mifa
Mifa,
was
yeah.
also on the show.
Yeah, but it's pretty insane. Mifa and sadly, who is like second place in a lot of the categories, is also pretty well. Used to be a Simpsons Hit Run runner.
Oh, really? It does
Yeah,
always surprise me how small just running in Twitch and stuff can be. Like it seems I always run into people like, "Hey, we've done things before. Look at that. That's crazy." Especially when you start
yeah.
looking at like smaller non-GDQ ESA marathons and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think there's so many good marathons out there now.
Mm-hmm.
I've participated in a few. You know.
Oh yeah, this is I wanted to talk about this a little bit. I thought it was a crazy coincidence. We both kind of got involved with the For the Love of Gaming marathon guys.
Yeah, that was pretty hype. I randomly just ended up in that because
Oh, you're cutting out.
I was.
Can
It
you
wasn't
repeat
even
that?
for Simpsons Hit and Run. Hello,
Yeah,
am I
yeah, you're
better
back.
now?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so instance because I wasn't there for Simpsons Hit and Run for the first one.
Mm-hmm.
I was there for I think Piku Niku with Aiden, and they were looking for like a host to be able to do the opening run, which was Simpsons Hit and Run. So I was just like, well, I know Simpsons Hit and Run. I've done hosting before. I'll just sign up. So I did. And yeah, then I did another couple of events for them. And then I even ran at one of them. But yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I guess kind of similar. I was just doing like every little marathon because I thought the experience would be very cool, and it was for sure. I definitely burnt myself out a little bit, but uh, a couple of teams in particular really stood out to me. And yeah, FTLG, it was good spirited. Things just kind of ran well. As far as marathons can go, when you're behind the scenes, you start to learn a little bit more about the crazy shenanigans that go on. But they just had a good energy to them for sure.
For
And
sure.
now I was part of the team, but I don't know how much I really contributed, but I was happy to do what I could do.
Yeah. I've also had experience actually putting on a marathon and running it now. And that was a stressful time.
Yeah. How
Like
I guess what did you learn from that experience?
because I did Sharkom, the Shark Community Marathon
Mm-hmm.
last year. So we made it all from scratch. We did all the All the logos had to be from scratch, all the layouts had to be done. We pretty much tried to set up everything in like a 2 month period, which was insane. Uh, I think the main things I learned from that is A, give yourself more time, and B, if you want to do something, just do it.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of intimidating factors for sure, but in general, a lot of people share these passions. So even if it's not the biggest thing, it's still a thing and people can rally behind it.
Yeah, like we raised, I think, like £500
Yeah,
for
let's go.
over the 2 days, and yeah, I think if we were to do, well, we're gonna do it again this year. There's a few things we'd like to improve on, but I think considering it was pretty much every organizer had never really done anything. The most any of us had done was I'd done some hosting, and at that point, that was the only like marathon experience any of us had. So to be able to bring it together was probably one of the biggest feats.
I guess I've never thought about this too much because I'm very proud of, the things that I've done as far as, speed running, content creation, stuff like that. And marathons are definitely, even just being involved in them, I'm like, these are highlights for sure. So it's kind of cool to think back on as, hey, we raised this amount of money, we put on a thing. So kudos to you for sure. Would you do it again?
Yes, I said at the time I'd never do it again because it was so much stress. But looking back on it, at the time it was stressful. Like beforehand, getting people to do things can be quite stressful. And then at some point, I just went, okay, if people aren't here at this time, I'm just gonna make the decisions
Mm-hmm.
because like there's only and then if anybody had a disagreement, just like then bring it up when they saw it. But it was like, okay, we're gonna do this. Like initially, we were meant to have a scheduling meeting and stuff, and a couple of us turned up, a couple of us couldn't because of work and stuff. So I went, okay, here's the draft schedule. If anybody disagrees, tell me. And we pretty much I think we had to change one runaround, but that was it.
Hey, as far as things can go, like no shows, I think that's pretty decent.
Yeah. And so yeah, I think that's one of the best things that happened out of it. We just had everybody have a good time, and that's what you want.
Oh, for sure. Now, it has been a while since I've done any marathon things. Do you have any coming up?
Uh no, but I did do one earlier this month for a small marathon called Macraeathon.
Which I think the name
What?
it's something with racing, right?
Yeah, it's so the main guy who runs it is a guy called Viper or BPT13, and he's always been a big fan of Colin McRae, which is a rally driver.
Mm-hmm.
Who was one of the best rally drivers when I was growing up. And they really wanted like it started off as a rally only marathon. And I think this is like the fourth year it's been a thing. And each year they've allowed more and more like driving games per se.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want like it to go away from driving, but just having rally games at a marathon is kind of too niche.
Yeah, yeah.
So like last year I did like all street races for Simpsons Hit and Run, but this year Viper was just like, do you want to do the main category? It's not strictly like a driving racing game, but Shah is basically a driving game, so I'll
Yeah.
let it. So I did, and like I was the last run of a marathon, which is always really
Yeah, the
hard.
closer.
Yeah, and I did F1 just before it, which was fun.
Mm-hmm. My brain has kind of switched over to this almost marketing mind where it's like, all right, what's going to potentially appeal to the most amount of people? So opening up to other like non-rally racing games is, I think, brilliant, because you're going to bring more viewers on, and more viewers on means potentially more money raised. And ultimately, that's the goal, right? With any of these charity marathons, is we want to get money for the cause.
Yeah, I think if I remember rightly, last year they raised about £75, and this year they raised like 200. And
Hey,
so it's really a big jump, which is always what you want to see. Even the
mm-hmm.
small marathons, which don't raise as much money as some of the others, it's still cool to see like a couple of £100, you know?
Oh yeah, for sure. Because I mean, anything matters, and
Yeah.
I'm in a period of my life right now where I definitely have more free time than money. So I'm always like, I can give my time. That's I try.
Yeah. So that's always good. There is one game on my SRC profile which I want to talk about a little, which is Donkey Kong Country,
Hey,
because because that's a game from when I was like a little kid that I used to play so much, and so did my dad. So I was speaking to my dad maybe 3 years ago about like speedrunning,
the idea
and
of it.
the idea of it, yeah, and he knew about speedrunning, but because he's always been a big gamer, even back from like when he was a little kid, he used to play in like the the penny like goes of the arcade and cafes and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
where you'd put like 10p in a machine, like for like Space Invaders and stuff, and play until your lives run out, basically. And he was telling me how like in the 90s, him and a couple of people used to just sit there and see who could beat like Donkey Kong Country the fastest that day. And his view on things were he always thought speedrunning was like, oh, you've got to have glitches, you've got to have this, you've got to have that. And I was just like, well, no, that's part of speedrunning, but most games have like no glitches. If glitches are like a big thing in the speedrun, there's usually a no glitch kind of category, you
Right.
know? And he was telling me like, oh yeah, well, we used to literally just hit a stopwatch, and then at the end of it, like stop the stopwatch and everything. And he got a time which was like I think 49ish minutes in Hundo,
For
which when I looked
DKC.
at, yeah, for DKC, which when I looked at it was like 25th or something, like
Oh,
around that. Like, so he's always been good at games, probably better than I am. If he really wanted to, he could be better at games than me. Like if he put his mind to it, he would smoke most of my times because he is inherently a better gamer than me. Like I'm someone who enjoys games and plays games, but inherently I'm not always the biggest gamer. Whereas my dad will just he all he has to do is play a game for like a couple of hours and he gets to my skill level pretty much. Because there's just some people who have played games for that many hours over our lives, so they can just pick up games and go.
shout out to the gamer dads. Mine is certainly not one, and I think I mean, I'm also not the best gamer, and I think that's okay. Realizing that, hey, maybe I'm not gonna naturally pick something up, and I'm not gonna be number one. But then it just makes your own personal gains kind of more important to yourself.
Exactly. I think not not always comparing yourself to others is good because, we're all individuals and we all have different amount of times to put into games, and
Mm-hmm.
at the end of the day, we play a game to have fun.
Yeah, right. It's easy to lose track of that sometimes with all
It
the,
really is.
or maybe me, because I'm very competitive, even if I'm not the most competent. I'm still competitive with it.
That's always an issue, but realistically, that's not inherently a bad thing as long as it doesn't get too bad for your
Yeah,
mentality.
yeah, and realizing that as I've gotten older, it's a lot easier.
I
It's
honestly think that changes, like, your mindset on things does change a lot the older you get.
It is crazy to think about because I have a lot of nostalgia for like PlayStation era games and stuff like that. So I had to have had like Crash Bandicoot, Metal Gear Solid and stuff from my dad playing it because ultimately he was younger. He's gonna get it for himself. But I haven't seen him play a game that's not like an hour of Call of Duty or a sports game in like 15, 20 years. So to imagine him actually playing games now like that I couldn't see it. But just ultimately other hobbies in life, you know?
Yeah, it's funny because my dad in the last like year or two has gone from like playing I think he was playing like Xenoblade and that sort of thing. And
Really?
now yeah. And he was big on Genshin when
Oh
Genshin came out.
no. He's
Yeah.
getting gotcha.
It was funny because him and my sister's husband used to play Genshin a lot together, and it was like, okay.
That's a game I never got behind. Even conceptually, it's like this is a game that just wants your money. And everybody's like, "Yeah, but it's kind of fun." I'm like, I can't. I'm not downloading it ever."
That's fair, yeah. I think different strokes for different folks, as they
Yeah,
say.
for sure.
But he's gone from like that sort of thing to I now see him play Animal Crossing and Pokemon and stuff. And my dad was never into Pokemon really. And now suddenly he's like further ahead in Pokemon than I am, and I'm just here like, what?
Man, yeah. He got all the gamer skill. He's hiding it from you or keeping it
Yeah,
from
so
you.
yeah, so for him it's like wild that he's now there because even back in the day he was big into like SM64, Banjo Kazooie and stuff and Nintendo stuff. He was into Zelda and that sort of thing. So growing up, I was always more of a watcher of games than player of games, and I think that's still a thing to this day.
Oh, yeah, I
Which
could
is
see that.
which is why I've done so much commentary and stuff for Shah races and stuff.
I was gonna ask you about it because I've seen you do a lot of, yeah, like you were saying, commentary, hosting, stuff like that. And do you think you find more intrinsic joy from just kind of being involved with it than running it yourself?
Yes, pretty much like 99% of the time, I'll more enjoy like being behind the scenes and doing things and
Mm-hmm.
commentating on things than doing it myself. Like I do find enjoyment out of playing from time to time, but give me like a front of house kind of job or a behind the scenes kind of job compared to actually being the runner, and I'll probably enjoy it more. But you know, I sometimes commentating does get too much, doing like so many a day. Like
Yeah, yeah, for sure. It's
burnout is 100% a thing. Commentating or playing, so it's a good balance, you know.
I've kind of found, yeah, I enjoyed marathons a lot, but when I started doing them too much, I was like, I just can't. Like hosting more than 3 hours now, I'm just like I'm drained.
Yeah, I used to be able to do like 8 hours of hosting.
Oh God.
Now I'm like, "Yeah, I'll give you a couple of hours."
Mm-hmm.
And it's like there's a run there I like the look of, and it's like 2 hours long. I'll do it. Whereas before, it's like 8 hours was like, oh yeah, no problem. But just talking for that, like you don't even have to talk to that much as a host. You do have to be aware, and I
I think that's
think
what it is. It's the still you're distant, but you have to be attentive. And
yeah,
that mental, like, all right, I don't want to interrupt, but I need to get this in, or hey, we should really plug this because none's come through in a while. It's a lot of pressure,
it
or
really
can be.
is, and it can be, yeah. And depending on who's like behind you like doing it, it really like changes how you act.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Oh, bless you.
thank you. It's funny because my sneeze has become such a meme. It even became like an emote and stuff.
We definitely we might have peeked into the red on OBS.
Yeah. So, but yeah, it's like again, it goes back to just knowing your limits and how much you want to do things and how much like For me, it's like how much I want to do it compared to how much it'll help someone out, kind of thing. Because commentating is fun, but doing like three in a day of the same game, I don't want to do it anymore.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine, especially doing the same game multiple times, because ultimately you feel like you're repeating yourself, and it just gets old.
It does, and I don't think people like my voice enough to listen to me for 6 hours a day.
I like it, but I don't know. Maybe you got the foreign thing going for you. I
Yeah,
honestly, I don't like my voice personally, but people are like, no, it's fine to me. I like it.
I think it's also part of like, when you're doing something, you're conscious that you can only hold someone's attention for so long. So if it's
Mm-hmm.
the same person talking for like 6 hours, the people like are gonna get bored because it's just the same tones hitting your ears. And it just happens.
Yeah, natural that way. I
Yeah.
honestly, I worry about that with I mean, obviously podcasts, the whole point is for us to be talking. Like, how do I maintain people's attention? Do they even care like at all? And I, it hits at your psyche a little bit.
It does. I think like for me, listening to podcasts is always something like going to work or being in the shower or something.
Mm-hmm.
It's not usually my main focus, or I'll put a podcast on when I'm like gaming and stuff. So weirdly, I've never enjoyed game music.
Really?
So
Okay.
yes, and I don't know anybody else who will turn the game off and put a podcast on. Like
Yeah, not too often.
the only times I'll like have the sound on is if it's something with a lot of audio stuff, like talking and stuff, like, and you have to hear it, and there's no subtitles. Like subtitles on
Mm-hmm.
games are a godsend,
Oh yeah, I
but
love subtitles on anything.
yeah, it's got to a point where in a SHA, there's a couple of strats which are all audio cue, right? Because you
Oh
have
yeah.
to. So after a certain mission, you have to kick when Frink says suck, and so therefore it's called the suck strat. But I've got to a point where I can count the amount of steps I take out of a car towards the school to be able to kick on that frame
Yeah.
without the audio cue. And it's kind of wild that I've managed to do that because it's not something you should be able to do because it's a fully audio cue. But for me, I just prefer listening to someone talking nonsense.
Yeah, yeah. I associate like I'm a big podcast listener, and mine will be when I'm walking my dog, anytime I'm in the car, uh, and yeah, it helps me pass time better. And I think maybe it's also because I don't know, I don't like discover new music quite like I used to when I was a teenager and stuff like that too. But
Yeah,
so what are your big podcasts right now? What's your main like? Oh, I'm catching their new episode every week.
split, obviously.
Oh yeah, of course. Mm-hmm. Thank you. My ego needed that.
But also, so a couple of wrestling podcasts. Now, I haven't
Like
been into wrestling.
WWE.
Just in general. Like, there's
Mm-hmm.
one. I don't watch wrestling nowadays, but I know everything was going on because there's
Really?
this there's this one podcast, uh, by Cultaholic, and the people on there, their voices are just nice to listen to, and I found them. I think they randomly came up in my recommendations one day, so I put it on and just started listening to it, and it's just like I could listen to more of this. And then I also sleep to podcasts, and the host's voice on it is quite monotonous, but in a positive kind of way, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Like because he's a host, he's very like one tone, very professional in everything he says, and his voice is just so easy to go to sleep to. At least for me, I can't sleep to silence, which is one of the worst things about being with someone who, my significant other
Oh
cannot sleep to any
no.
sound whatsoever. Like, even the fan in my computer, which is very quiet, I had to have my computer off when she's trying to sleep because it'll disturb her. We can't have fans on in the summer because the noise will not let her sleep, etc., etc. So trying to balance the me who will always sleeps to podcasts to her who never sleeps to sound is kind of funny.
Yeah, I think this is a huge like fight thing for me because I need a fan, some sort of other audio source like a lot of pods or just ambient music.
Yeah.
Because yeah, I need that subtle background. And I'm very picky. I'm just a picky sleeper in general, I guess. But yeah, I need that background sources. I got the ringing, the tinnitus helps that go away. So
Yeah.
then it's just also soothing. It distracts the brain, I think. So I'm able to just take focus off of my first world problems.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, it's very nice to just, be chill and listen, and just
So do you
relax.
cave? You
And
turn off everything?
yes, I cave. I
Bless
am
your heart. You must really like her.
I'm sad to say, but yes, I do cave.
Oh, the fan one would be I might have to murder somebody.
That is a big issue sometimes. And then
I'm hot.
there's also like I was so happy the other day. Like, I've listened to this one podcast by a channel called Fall of Civilizations, and it's basically just talking about like old I cannot say that word, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And talking about history, and I love history and stuff. So that podcast is very nice, and they did a new episode like last week, so I was happy about that. And I found them randomly because I think one of them blew up like last year or something, talking about the Sumerians. And then since then, I went back and watched all their previous, well, I guess listened to their previous ones, and then moved on. And I think for me, like, voices and stuff is more important than the subject matter. Like, if I'm interested in something,
Oh, yeah.
if I'm interested in the topic before, cool. If I'm not, I'm just learning something new.
Okay, BRB going to a voice coach.
But yeah, just in general, I think voices are very nice, and just listening to someone speak,
Yeah, for sure.
And I
Especially
get
as people are like more into it, I think you can kind of pick up on that passion.
for sure, and I think that's where Twitch comes in handy sometimes as well. I'll just chuck a stream on whilst I'm like gaming or whatever,
Hmm.
and I don't, because I only have one monitor. I don't even watch what
You're
they
a
do.
one
But
monitor lad? Oh,
yeah, I
how do
know.
you manage?
I don't know, and I didn't like realize just how bad a one monitor setup was until like work now has a two monitor setup, and now I want a two monitor
Oh
setup.
yeah, I think it's crazy not to. The year 2022, Axie? I
I
couldn't
know, I
focus
know.
without two minimum. Wait, how
Yeah.
are you
So that's
streaming? How'd you have chat and stuff?
okay. So Shah, I have to put 800 by 600.
Oh, you monster. You
So
got it
it's
windowed with the chat and stuff? That's dedication right there.
it's windowed. I've got OBS open. I've got like Shah just above like the bottom bar of OBS, so I can still see like if any frames drop, if my bitrate goes down, if any encoding issues happen, etc., etc. I have splits on one corner of my screen. I have a chat on the other corner of the screen, and I have like a Twitch feed of stuff just in the bottom corner, bottom left as well, and it's just squished.
I am curious if you do next time you stream, if you want to screenshot it, just your whole desktop and send it to me so I could see this misery. I would love that.
Yeah, well, I can open everything like and show you. after if you want.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's such a misery because trying to do it is so hard. And if there's a full screen game, I can't stream. Like if a
Oh
if a
God.
if a game doesn't have a windowed option, I can't stream it. 100%.
I feel like nowadays it's not that common that you run into things that don't have windowed options, but yeah, I could see that being, I mean, obviously it's a deal breaker at that point, unless you just, I don't know, maybe use your phone for chat or something, but that seems weird too.
So I usually use my phone for chat if I'm doing marathon runs
Mm-hmm.
because I have like my chat open just in case there's any issues, and then on my phone I'll have like a stream up, like muted, so I can see if there's any frame issues or anything,
Mm-hmm.
like real time kind of thing, which is always a concern because like I can't do anything in the middle of a run,
Right, yeah.
but but I like to know if it's going smooth.
All right. Now I want to ask you this real quick. Because obviously, I mean, it seems like you're busy. You work full time. You actually maintain your personal relationships. Do you have any other hobbies outside of running and just the online scene in general?
Um, yeah, so well, watching motorsports has always been a passion of
Like in
mine since
person?
I have done in person, mostly just on TV, mostly like I've gone to a few Formula One races in
Mm-hmm.
my time, and
They
just
seem sick.
locate just location wise where I am, it's so hard to get to a lot of places. I really want to go to like speedway races more. I've been to a few, and if you don't know what speedway is, it's basically like dirt bikes going around an oval track really fast,
Mm-hmm.
uh, which it is actually really, really cool to go to. And yes, sometimes you do get showered with dirt, but you know,
Do you ever want to be a racer yourself?
uh, no, I prefer watching it.
Oh,
Would
okay.
I would I commentate things? Maybe. I've always been one who prefers to watch and commentate than do.
I've got a couple family members that do like actual track-based race car driving stuff.
That's
And I've
really
gone to
cool.
a couple events, and well, I after like an hour I get kind of bored of it myself. I do feel there's like commentators on it, and they typically do a good job, but because of the nature of it and it being so loud, I'm like they're getting drowned out like at least 50% of what they say. Especially
Oh
me,
yeah,
I
for
know I'm going deaf, so like you guys are doing great, I'm sure. I can't tell,
sure.
but somebody has to do it, so it's one of those things.
Yeah.
Did you want to like? How did you get into helping people working at a care facility, especially with the masters in business?
So I feel like I've said this line several times, but it was because of my dad.
Oh, okay.
So my dad is also in this industry. He worked at a place, and then
Well, it seems like you
I
had a
needed it.
positive, role model, so that's actually great to hear, especially with Father's Day just passing.
Yeah, no, my dad is 100% like my biggest inspiration in life. He has always done what it's possible to be able to help me and my brother and stuff like forward. Uh, it wasn't always easy for him, but he's always done his best and always proud to say that he's my role model. But
Oh, you're gonna make me
he
cry. That's so wholesome.
he was already there, but he was gonna move on and stuff, and I needed a job, and he was just like, "Yeah, there's vacancies, just go there." So I did, and here I am 5 years later in the same industry. Like I didn't think it was going to be a long term thing because I did try. I worked in like a council, which I guess in America would be like. Do you have city councils in America? I
Yeah,
don't know.
yeah. They're
Yeah, yeah,
I feel like not many people are as involved with them, but they exist.
yeah. So I was in the HR department for my local like council, and I just didn't enjoy it at all. Like the whole office atmosphere just
Mm-hmm.
wasn't me because it was all to do with, oh, you have to do this in a certain time, you have to do that, you have to do all this paperwork, and I like paperwork, don't get me wrong. But when I'm being forced to do things, I don't like it. I like doing things on my own terms, which
Yeah. It
I
seems
guess in a
pointlessly meticulous.
yeah, for sure. In a way, it's why I don't particularly like doing like marathon runs in speedrunning, just because it's like I have to do it then. And some days I wake up and I'm just like, I don't want to do it.
Which,
But
completely understandable.
yeah, but for the job I do, like even on days where I don't particularly want to do my job, because I work night shifts and stuff, I don't necessarily call it in, but like if something isn't swept properly one night, it's not going to be the end of the world. Like, there's no, as long as I look after the people properly, if I don't necessarily like do everything else to the top of my ability one
Mm-hmm.
night, it's not going to cause a catastrophe. You know, oh, oh no, like this one bit of dirt wasn't wiped up. What are we going to do? Kind of thing. Like,
I could see some manager getting like all in a fit about it, but ultimately life goes on, and it's gonna just be a mess again later. So
exactly. Like, and that's the kind of thing. That's why I like what I do. Like, care in a way is just so fitted to me because I can control what I do.
mm-hmm.
And I'm looking to be so after the 2 years course, I'm looking to then go on to university again because I want to become a
Again.
learning yeah, I want to do learning disability nurse.
Oh,
And if I do like this qualification at work, I will then be able to go on and do it. And that's 100% like my motivation because being a learning disability nurse, I'll be able to help like behind the scenes more. And yeah, it's just really exciting.
well, I am envious. It seems like definitely you've had a journey to get there for sure, but I love to see people actually pursuing something that they're passionate about because especially nowadays, there's so many people that are stuck in just trying to survive and maybe getting the dream of buying a house and instead of going after the things that really make them happy. And that's too bad.
For sure. It took me like 3 years to be sure this is what I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
But I think for me, I've always just been okay, being happy and content. And if I then have like dreams I want to chase, then I like actually make plans to do it. And if something isn't viable, I'll just move on. Like,
Yeah.
yes, it means I don't necessarily fight for certain things, but it doesn't cause me the hassle of like being awake at like 3 a.m. thinking, oh, what am I gonna do with myself? Because, I've got a job which I'm happy in. I've got a lot of things which I'm happy in. Like if I don't get my dream, then it's not the end of the world because I've still got everything else. And I think sometimes in life people just have to realize that what they have is what they've got and they should be more appreciative.
It's definitely, I mean, it's easier said than done. I'm also in a era of my life right now where I'm like I don't truly know what avenues I want to explore either. Like I have a good direction and I'm just following it because I feel like it's the right way to go, but I don't know if it's necessarily something that I'm going to find a true passion in. So that's why I do the hobby stuff, but if the hobby stuff became a professional thing, would I still love it as much? I don't know. And only time will really tell.
Yeah, I think that's actually a very good thing where you have like the hobbies and stuff that you enjoy because sometimes having that sort of thing can make your job or whatever you do as your main like income source be okay. Yes,
Yeah, yeah.
you may not enjoy like doing a job 9 to 5, but because you have everything else around it, it makes it tolerable. And I think that is what people should aim for more than like just more in general because I don't think enough people look at like their hobbies and stuff and go, that's what gets me through the day. or that's what I want more of. I just think, my job is horrible, blah blah blah. But
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes it is. Don't get me wrong. Like I'm not saying people are wrong for thinking about sort of things
Yeah.
because everybody's case is different. But personally, I just found in life that if I was focusing too much on my job, it just meant everything was bad. Whereas if I focus on like the positives and like especially like the things I like to do, and just made those important, it's so much easier. Like
Yeah.
and saying no to doing overtime, that also makes me happy.
Oh, for sure. I think, and this is so huge, and shout out to some people that they think it's the work hard, play hard. So like you do the 60 hours a week, and then you'll take a vacation, and that's enough for them. And if that works for you, that everybody's different. That's fine. But I see a lot of people, and I think my mom included. It's just like their work it becomes such a large facet of their personality. Where I have like many hats, and so if one thing makes me unhappy, I was like, all right, well that hat, I don't care about that one right now.
Yeah.
But not putting all your eggs in one basket, I guess, is the way that works for me anyway. So if I get angry at one thing, I'm like, all right, well that's just that thing. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, like for me, work is 4 on, 4 off, which means the 4 days I'm at work, I'm in work mode. As
Mm-hmm.
soon as I leave at 7 a.m. on my last shift, I'm like, goodbye, see you next time.
That's
I
sweet.
don't, and like because that's 48 hours in those 4 days because
Ooh.
I do 12-hour night shifts, so like it's 48 hours, and I will not do an hour more.
Yeah. I wouldn't.
And
Oh, balls
it
are
sounds
rough.
it sounds bad, but like I don't want to be like if I do another shift, I'm doing 60 hours. I don't want to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Like I want to do 48 hours a week or 36 because the way 4 on 4 off works is sometimes you'll do 3 shifts a week, sometimes you'll do four. It depends where in the week like your shift falls. So realistically, it ain't gonna bother me
Yeah,
because then I have like 4 days off and I could just enjoy them however I want to.
which is sweet, isn't it? You even could do a little
Uh,
vacation in 4 days.
I have done, yeah. Like if my 4 days off fall on like Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, I have been known at the end of my shift on like Friday morning to hop on a train to the airport, hop on a plane, and then just do a weekend break in like Paris or something, you know?
I am very jealous that the EU is very connected in that way, where you can just go for a few hours and you're in a different country.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's so nice to be able to just hop on a plane for an hour and just be like, oh yeah, I'm in Paris now.
Mm-hmm. Do you see yourself going to like an ESA, one of the
Uh,
bigger speedrun marathons?
Maybe. I think there is a plan of like a few of us in our friendship group to go to ESA 2023, which
Ooh,
which I might go to. It really depends on like work and stuff, but
I'm trying to
and
go to
like
that too. So if we meet up, that'd be sick.
that would be sick. Yeah, I think the more homies that'll be there, the more like incentive I have to do it
Oh, for
because
sure. How do you say no to
it's
that many people, right?
exactly. It's like I want to meet all these cool people, but I also want like holidays, days to be falling for like so me and my partner can go away and stuff. But if enough people say like, I'm going to ESA, it becomes more and more of a Abe, you should just come with me to ESA. I just drag her to ESA kind of thing.
Wouldn't be a bad
Way
way to
cool.
do it. You get a nice little vacation to Sweden too.
Yeah, Sweden is lovely. I do like Sweden. I only went for a day trip because I was in Copenhagen for like 2 weeks in 2015 at like festivals and stuff. And someone I was with, they wanted to go like shopping for clothes because I was with there was like six of us, and there was like two guys and four girls, and the girls all wanted to go shopping, Me and
Well, you can do
me
that at
and
home.
me and the guy were just like, we went shopping yesterday. Why do we want to go again? And it was just like, oh, but we didn't get to like decide. We didn't decide what we wanted. We've been talking all night about what we actually wanted to buy today, and we were just like, yeah, we ain't going. And then the train to like Malmo from Copenhagen is like 10, basically the equivalent of a tenner or something, and it's like less than an hour. So we just went
Mhm.
on the train and went on a day trip to Sweden.
Oh, that's
So
awesome. That's so awesome.
yeah,
All right, Axie. I want to get to the point where I start rapid firing some of these speedrun related questions for you.
okay.
So, things about you for sure. What was running World of Warcraft like?
It was very fun. It was a different experience from what I was used to in the past playing World of Warcraft, but it was really fun and like it brought a lot of fresh enjoyment to the games, you know.
For sure. And since that does, and we were talking about it a bit earlier, it does experience those patches. Do they divide up their leaderboard like as different expansions come out and stuff like that? Or like, can you be
Yes.
legacied into the world record forever once the patches evolved or something?
Oh, well, funny you should say that. If in a miscellaneous category, I am basically patched into 2 world records.
Let's go. We get to hold that W.
They will never be beaten because there's no way of going back to that patch. So, so yes, I am a world record holder for life.
Now, since you have a bunch of miscellaneous games that you've run, what do you think it is that draws you to these different types of games? Like, what do you look for in a new run?
First off, is it free? If it's a free game, if it's a free game, like a small download, free game, I can play it in 5 minutes after I look into it. It's always going to appeal to me, uh, just because that's what I enjoy to do. I like taking a game, play it for a week, and never have to play it again. Really, I think the only game which has defied that is Shah, but every other game is either a really popular game I've just seen and gone, well, that looks like it'll be fun today to do, and just do it.
So does movement or anything like that appeal to you, or like would you be just as likely to play maybe a Pokemon game or something like that?
If it's a bad 2D platformer, I'm more likely to play it.
A bad one
I
specifically?
Yes, in a way. I think part of what I enjoy is almost jank physics. I don't know why, but if it's a 2D platformer, I think the only exception is like Celeste. Celeste is amazing.
Mm-hmm. I love that
It
game. It's hard, but
it's
it's
the
amazing.
it's the pinnacle, and that's a game I most want to like learn for speedrun. I've played it several times, like fast casually, but on my Xbox, the game because it used to be on Game Pass. So
Mm-hmm.
again, a free game.
Hey.
Uh, but so yeah, so in general, if it's a bad 2D platformer, I'll play it because if it's a good 2D platformer, it's not going to be as good as Celeste, and it's not going to have like the advantages of being a cheesy bad game, you know?
Yeah. Oh, I guess there's some certainly gems that happen with those bad games.
Oh yeah, for sure. You can randomly just clip through a wall, or the save mechanics of like six specifically. There's a you only save at certain points, but the game will like keep your values if you die, but it won't. But it'll reload things. So there's this glitch that was found where in the beginning section of the first like 20 seconds of a game, you collect a key and you need like I think 15 silver keys to complete the game. And you can just collect it, die on spikes, collect it, die on spikes, and just key grind basically. And we found that glitch because a friend of mine, another showrunner, he was playing the game for the first time, and me and Crazy Tone Dog, the guy who me and him always find these bad 2D platformers, and he's also part of the FTLG team, or was. I'm not sure if he still is, but he we looked at our friend's screen and just went, why does he have more keys than he should have right now? And then, like 5 minutes later, we discovered what caused this glitch. And then we basically just had a new category made because, any percent suddenly became
Mm-hmm.
key grinding.
Which is almost kind of a shame in some ways, but it's also sick in others. Like, you are getting rid of some of the major, I guess, points of a game, but it's also,
Yeah.
it could be faster, so.
You are, but I think the differences between like the speed of glitches and glitchless for that is very dictated in key grinding. So
Mm-hmm.
for that game specifically, it's okay because if you don't like it, glitchless is still not that much slower. So I think about 4 minutes slower, and key grinding saves about 3 minutes. So it's not too bad, but in some games it would be a real pain having that glitch be so defining.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Which, hey, look at that. You can solve a problem with just having a new category. There's a lot of games
Yeah.
which will just straight out like ban something like that instead of new category, but that's a whole thing.
Yeah, just make a new another new category we had to make for it. So we found that if you don't close the game, if you start a new game, you still keep everything like that you had in the last game.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but like the save point of the last game carries through to the new game. You have to close the actual game, but like nothing in the game is like defeated until you defeat it again.
Yeah.
So that's like the NG plus version until you save in the second thing, in the second playthrough. You can warp straight to the last checkpoint, which gets you to the end boss. So there's a new game plus checkpoint abuse category because of the fact that you can just warp to the last boss.
There's something I almost hate principally in a game, and sometimes it's shorter than others, but I think of two of them in particular being these very, I mean, kind of smaller games that I did a little bit of runs for was KO the Kangaroo's demo, which after you beat the demo, if you went through it again, you didn't have to like kill a wave of enemies before you could go through the exit gate. And then Evo Wave, which if you beat the game once, the second time going through it, if you don't close the game, it will make it so you can move during cutscenes or like text dialogues, which are
That's good.
unskippable. Which
Yeah.
is kind of cool, but except you have to take 20 minutes to beat the game the first time to actually get runs going. And I'm like, that's because I mean it's like a difference of a minute in a 15-20 minute run. I'm like, that's stupid.
Oh yeah, for sure. That's why, like for Six specifically, I like how me and Tone Dog basically just went, this will be a new category straight away. It's like
Not force
because
people to really do it, but if you have the
yeah,
option.
and not just that, it literally is you complete a game with any percent, and you can then do a run of this like straight away after, and it's
Mm-hmm.
I think I did a marathon run of any percent once, and then just straight away just did the checkpoint abuse because it is as simple as here you go.
Now, I've seen that you've done a bunch of category extension stuff for Simpsons Hit and Run as well. What do you actively push those still, or were they just kind of like fun one-time things?
So I am probably one of the like biggest pushers of category extensions in like Char and games in general. I think there's so many gems of categories that you can find on like the extension boards, which like in Char you have cheap percent, which you basically it comes from the era of games where you had cheat codes. And I think that's one of the main things that are missing in games nowadays. Like if you back in the day, if you got like a booklet or something with the game, there might be in there like, if you do this, 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 and this, you get like infinite health or whatever, and
Yeah.
the cheat codes. And I think that sort of thing is missing because I know as a kid I used to really enjoy opening up the booklet and going, "Oh my god, I can do if I do this, I can get this cool thing going." And
Yeah, games don't really come with booklets like that anymore either, which is crazy. Because I've always been a physical collector of things. So like
yeah,
hell, even on my desk I've got Mario Kart 8 and there's not a single booklet. It's got like kind of a control guide inside the actual box art, but no booklet.
yeah, booklets are like a forgotten thing of the past, but I still have my original World of Warcraft booklet back from 2005 when I got it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's still cool because you can open it and like it tells you everything about the game from back then, and it's like wow. And yeah, no, I do think booklets are something that are a forgotten form of entertainment.
Now going forward, do you have any game that you have no intention of picking up yourself, but you love to watch the run for?
Uh,
If not, that's okay too.
I think Banjo-Kazooie is kind of one of those. Like I always intended to run the game, but I never really ran the game.
It is a
And
hell of a game, that's for sure.
I love watching Banjo-Kazooie, and it's probably one of my favorite games to just put on and watch. But I think as time goes on, I'm less and less likely to do it, but I'm still likely to like casually play. I think
Mm-hmm.
a game which I'm not likely to play, but I love to watch is the Crash series in general. Like I've only ever played the GBA Crash games.
Really? Oh wow. Yeah, those are
And
gems. At least one
and
of
that
them is
was
decent.
for blind runners, and I've never played the main series of Crash games, and watching it, I'm amazed at like how good they are and everything, and how
Mm-hmm.
good people are at them. Like Crash 3, watching that, and then, but I have no intention of ever playing them because they just don't look like my cup of tea.
Which, yeah, I would say makes sense for a lot of people, especially nowadays. Just kind of that style of game. I think if you didn't have nostalgia for it at all, it's hard to get into.
Yeah, I never played it when I was younger. We weren't a PlayStation household, really.
Okay. And yeah, a lot of people were also either torn. Typically, you had Nintendo things or PlayStation or Xbox or something like that. And I guess you and I is a little bit older. I mean, we're looking at the N64 era, which is goated.
Yeah. Yeah, so we had a SNES we had a SNES and a Mega Drive,
Oh, snap.
which I believe is the Saturn for you guys.
Yeah.
The Sega, which had all the Sonic games and stuff. So we had those, and then we went from that to the N64, then the GameCube, then the Wii, and the 360. So for Christmas one year, I got the 360, my brother got the Wii, and the Wii was actually like so much fun back then.
I remember that being the console I like super wanted because I was a huge GameCube kid. And
Yeah,
so then the Wii is like, oh, the motion controls because it was new. It looked so exciting. You play like I don't know if you played this game, but it's Red Dawn. And it's like you had a katana and stuff. Like this is so cool, and you're actually like aiming a like gun as like a rail shooter. I thought it was so sick. and
Yeah.
I really want them. And anytime a new console comes out, people just buy them all up to scalp them or whatever. So I remember just like hunting eBay as like a 12-year-old or whatever, however old I must have been. Like, oh, this one's only for $40 markup, Dad, Christmas, please.
Yeah. That was it was just an insane time, and I still have my Wii actually. It's still a lot of fun.
I do too, actually. Yeah, they held up, which is almost incredible.
Yeah, and then like after that, I had my 360 until 2020, like when I got Xbox One for Christmas, I
Mm-hmm.
think, because my dad's friend at his workplace was selling his for cheap because he no longer wanted it. He wanted the new Xbox, whatever it's called. So he was just looking to get a little bit of money for the Xbox One. So my dad was just like, "Oh yeah, my son wants one. I'll buy it for him." Blah blah blah. And then I got it, and that was my first like console since the 360, which
Oh,
I had for like
dang, yeah.
10 years. I had the 3DS. The 3DS I played a lot of, especially traveling. Like the 3DS was
Mm-hmm.
insane as a travel thing. And then I got a Switch in like October last year. Played so much Animal Crossing.
It's crazy to me. I have, I grew up with DSs. I got the Switch, but as an adult, I don't find myself as a handheld gamer almost ever. And part of me
Fair.
is almost nostalgic, like I miss it. But I did bring when Animal Crossing was new, I did bring it to work a few times. Like, listen, we're not doing anything. I might as well. Do 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 do.
I
I'm
think
just getting
yeah,
into it.
when that came out at my workplace, like at night, all I'd hear from like my colleague was that sound for like 2 months straight. They'd play it for like 3 hours a night because there where I work, like half the time you're not doing much at night. You're just
Mm-hmm.
there as like almost like security, like warden kind of job, and your main job is to stay awake. And if staying awake means playing Animal Crossing for 3 hours, the main thing is you have to be able to get up and be in a situation within a certain amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you can put the switch down straight away
Which is
without having to
nice,
mess with
yeah.
anything. Yeah. And then pick it back up like an hour, like 10 minutes later, whatever you want. So that's cool. But I was always a PC gamer compared to like console.
As I've been able to buy my own things, I'm also definitely a PC gamer. It's just, I don't know, maybe it's snobby of me, but it's like, it just runs better. Mouse and keyboard feels better.
Oh yeah, for
For
sure.
most things. For 3D platformers and stuff, I'm still a controller person, but that's about it. 3D
Yeah.
platformers, I think.
The Xbox One controllers are so good.
I've been meaning to pick one up again because, yeah, I was using a DS4, but it kind of started breaking.
Yeah.
And then I started using the PS5's controller, but it's like way too blocky for me. I don't like it.
Yeah, no. The Xbox One, like they nailed the controller there.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
And the
at the time, the
360 was
360 one was
also
GOAT. Like, it was the top
yeah.
dog, no contest.
Yeah, the 360 was like gold until the one came out, and then it's like, oh my,
How to
they
improve
improved.
on it. Mm-hmm. All right, Axie, we are hitting the end of our time here, so I want to do this last recurring segment that I've definitely scooped. Shout outs to PMC, where I'm going to ask you to give a question to our next guest. Now, last week's guest was Dylan J. Fox, and I guess we kind of touched on this a little bit, but if you had to pick up one speed game that you've never even played before, what would it be and why?
Ooh, that I've never even played before.
Mm-hmm. Just maybe you've heard of it or you've seen it, and assuming it doesn't cost anything to you, someone's gifting it.
Ooh. Probably. That's a tough one. maybe one of the JRPG games like
Like a Final Fantasy?
Yeah, Final Fantasy 15. I've never played it. I've wanted to play it, and I've watched it, but I've never watched a speedrun of it. But I would 100%. I think that would be like one thing I definitely would
Do
like
the lengths not
speedrun.
scare you off at all?
Not really. Like I think when it comes to like something like that, it would definitely be something I would do once in a while rather than anything because
Mm-hmm.
looking at the boards now, like the world record time is like 4 hours, and then
Ooh.
it's not something I'd play often, but I definitely think like it would be something I enjoy to do, and
Yeah, yeah.
which is kind of wild because I've never played a Final Fantasy game
Not a
before.
single
But
one,
then
really. I
not
feel
a
like most
single
people get
one.
drawn in by at least one. Like 10 was a big one for a lot of people, 7
Yeah,
maybe. Hmm.
see, 15 watching it actually really, really drew me in. And I don't know why, but I've wanted to ever since just play it and then run it and then. So I might do one day, but yeah.
I love the things that get me immersed, and so something like that does, because it's got like that open world and character building and almost like a Kingdom Hearts fighting style. So I liked it. I never finished it, but I liked it.
I think Kingdom Hearts is something I'd also like to get into.
They were fun when I played them. I don't know how well it would hold up as like a new game, if that makes any sense.
That's fair, yeah. That's also an issue of like some things because so many games that we played as a kid or whatever just don't hold up
Yeah, it's
very
kind of
well.
rare.
And also Cuphead. Cuphead also looks like an insane speedrun.
Oh yeah, it's a hard casual game. I'm sure once you break it down, just like I don't know. I think of Hollow Knight. Like once you kind of know how everything goes, it's probably easy. But in my
Yeah.
casual playthrough of Cuphead, I'm like, this is hard. The
Cuphead. Yeah, Cuphead looks fun. Hollow Knight is so much fun.
I love that game. Silk Song soon. Asterisk. But yeah, do you have a question for our next guest?
Um,
And it can be anything. It's dumb as possible. How you like your toast? It don't matter.
where do you think would be the coolest place in the world to speedrun from?
Like, okay. I'm curious
Like
your take on that.
any location you could choose in the world. Like, where do they think they'd want to speedrun in the coolest like place?
Do you have a spot that comes to mind for you right away?
Uh, probably the side of like a Norwegian mountain or something.
I was thinking
Imagine,
also on a mountain, like cabin or something. Yeah,
yeah, imagine being able to like live stream from the side of a mountain
that'd be sick.
and
Maybe
like
that's just because I want to be there anyway.
just have like I don't know, a Final Fantasy game just speed ran from the side of a mountain. That would be like insane.
mm-hmm. I mean, that sounds like paradise. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you again for joining me. And my last question for you: where can the people find you?
They can find me on twitch.tv/Axington123 or on Twitter. I'm at What's with Salad. If you like someone complaining about McDonald's salad or just salad in general, that's the place to go to because I don't think anybody else on this planet has a Twitter dedicated to disrespecting salad.
Has McDonald's reached out to you yet?
They have not, unfortunately,
Mm,
but they have not tried to convert me. But I just think it's so pointless. The amount of lettuce they put on their burgers compared to like the patty, right?
mm-hmm.
You get like the patty, and then you get like more lettuce than patty. Why would you want that? Why would anybody want that?
And this is the hill worth dying on.
I I will die on this hill.
Again, it has been a pleasure. Thank you again, and I hope everyone has a good time, and I'll see you next time week eventually soon. Bye.
Bye.